All right, let's talk about Ohio State Northwestern. I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like we need to. We can just like kind of gloss over it. So, Kent, I want to start with this. So, we don't do politics here very often at the Big Ten Huddle. However, I feel like this is a time when you and I can really figure out some of the world's issues here, Kent.
Okay.
Um, so the death penalty is a big thing for people, right? You know,
Yeah.
I think instead of the death penalty, you just put this game on loop in front of the prisoners 18 hours a day.
I
I mean,
mean,
they're going to be enamored by Martinelli, so there's a little bit of grace in that, you
yeah,
know. And KJ Windham, how do you pronounce his name? They're going to be
Wyndham.
a little enamored with that, but I mean, then they're going to see John Mobley and they're going to be like, "Yeesh, yeah, are you sure that is not a high schooler? Like, are you sure that?"
Yeah. I think in order for it to be an actual like punishment, you have to put whoever's in prison or whatever in an Ohio State jersey while they're watching it, and they have to
Oh,
cheer for Ohio State.
yeah, they have to feel that would be the ultimate punishment. Like you bring them into
Yeah.
prison and you show them Ohio State football, and you're like, "Look, they just won the national championship."
Oh
They're like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I'm an Ohio State fan. They won the national championship." And
The
then you're
true
like, "Yeah."
gaslighting.
And
Yeah.
then they hired this coach who's never been a head coach before in his life, and he's been an assistant all of his life, and he had a few lucky games the
You
season
show
before.
them the
They
Purdue games
hired
like
him.
back to back. Like,
Yeah,
check
like
this out.
yeah, check this dude out. Look how good he is. And then you just show him this game on loop. He's like, oh, okay, this game's over. I'll watch the next one. But it's like,
You're
no,
like,
this game's just
nope.
on loop for the rest of your life. He'd
That'd
be
be
begging for the death
hilarious.
penalty. He would be begging for the death penalty. I'll tell you.
And then also like the punishment of not knowing what happened the rest of the season too. That would just be like, oh, like they got better, right? And you're like, maybe
Maybe.
you will never
But
know.
this is what you're watching.
Watch
It's like,
this again.
can I watch the national championship again? No. This is what you get.
That's so good, man. I love that. I love that
Thanks.
idea.
I was workshopping that one as I was out at the gas station mad. I
Yeah.
had the game on my phone, and the dude behind me in the gas station, he was like, "Wow, it sucked to be an Ohio State fan tonight." I was like, "Yeah, it does.
You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
believe me, I know." All right, so we can actually talk about the game now. So Ohio State
Okay.
loses this one 70-49. Ohio State at home. This is a huge blow to Ohio State's NCAA tournament hopes. They, were kind of on the bubble, projected as a 10 seed by a lot of places, kind of depending on who you looked at. Some people felt better about Nebraska's chances. Some people felt better about Ohio State's chances. Well, yesterday Nebraska loses to Penn State. That was that was on the road though. So that one's not as bad. They did get blown out, but still on the road, not as bad. This one's at home for Ohio State. This one is like the crowd was booing them because they were so mad. The players for Ohio State just looked completely dejected. And meanwhile, Matthew Nicholson just had his way down there. Martinelli was like doing crazy hook shot things that, basically did whatever he wanted to do. And I'm not taking anything away from Northwestern by saying this, but I mean, I think a high school girls team would have beat Ohio State tonight with the way they looked and the way they were playing.
Maybe.
So
I mean, they couldn't score
yeah,
at all. I think it's the
they were
lowest
like
point
wide
total.
open and they still couldn't score.
Yeah.
So
Maybe a little carryover from the air ball that Bruce threw up in the Michigan game. They just like were like, oh man, if he can't make that, we can't make anything.
yeah, yeah.
Tough.
Um, I mean, so let's talk about Northwestern. Northwestern won. Let's talk about them first. So I
Okay.
think like this is a huge thing for Northwestern. They're trying to make the Big Ten tournament.
Yes.
This is a big win for them to do that. Iowa lost, was it last night to Oregon, and so they're kind of right there. But Minnesota won their last game, so they're kind of pulling ahead. Right now, it seems like there's one spot. Washington lost last night to Rutgers, which by the way, if you didn't catch that game last night,
Amazing.
that was the most fun I've ever seen two of the worst teams in the Big Ten ever play because both teams wanted it so much. But Northwestern's got a shot now. Like with Washington losing, Penn State losing, um, Iowa losing, they've got a shot now possibly to get into the tournament here, which I would not have deemed possible without Brooks Barnheiser. But give credit to this Northwestern team.
Yeah, it's still going to be tough. I'm going to go back one beat though, because that Rutgers Washington game, you're absolutely right. I watched the whole thing. Incredible game, overtime. I think the outcome could have been different if Great Osibor didn't foul out late in regulation. Like they had a
Great call.
legit chance to win that game. They were right in there, but just couldn't finish the job. And obviously, without their best player, they're in big trouble. But kudos to Rutgers on that one. As far as Northwestern, though, here's how I look at this season right now, and then I'll talk about the Big Ten tournament thing. I think that in the long run, this is going to be helpful for Northwestern because they're getting guys that are super young right now, big minutes. They have to play big minutes. Leach is gone. Barnheiser's gone. Somebody has to play these minutes. So they're getting these young guys, Wyndham involved, some of the other guys that they have playing, and they're getting experience. And next year, they're going to be even more ready. So I think it's a good thing if you're a Northwestern fan. Overall, it's a rough season. It's rough to have to go through this whole season like this. But if you can just take one step back, it will be like, okay, well, these guys got minutes last year. And I don't think that they're guys that are going to transfer. Usually Northwestern guys aren't like that to begin with. So it's going to be helpful for the program overall. As far as the Big Ten bubble, I talked about this on Monday. I still think it's Iowa. There's basically one spot, like you said. I think it's Penn State and Washington. But Iowa's just bad. Like no Owen Freeman, they're in deep doo-doo. I hate to say it. They didn't play horrible last night. I thought that they showed some good things, but Oregon hasn't been able to beat anybody either. So it's like the team that beat them on their home court was not very good to begin with. So that just shows me how bad I think Iowa is right now. And coming down the stretch, I just feel like Fran's checked out and some of the team is starting to be checked out as well. And they just don't have enough good players. So I think it's going to be Iowa, unfortunately, on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa had every chance to win that game. I mean, between the shot clock violation, which I thought probably should have been a made three, but whatever. Between that and Shellstad stepping on the line, like they basically gifted Iowa that opportunity twice because they missed the two layups and then the ball went out of bounds and then they had the chance again and Nate Biddle blocks the three. Like they had the opportunities to do it and they couldn't close out the game, and it just felt like this was Iowa's season kind of in a nutshell. It's like, here are the opportunities, go out and get it, but you can't do it. They
Biddle's
did have
nasty, by the way. I love that kid. He
he
is
is nasty.
disgusting. Love watching
Um,
him play.
I love that he's balding too.
Yeah, that's
Give
great.
me like I've discovered that in football I want all of my offensive linemen to be balding. I've also discovered I want my 7-foot center to be balding as well.
I
That
like that.
that feels like right.
Yeah, 'cause it just like instills confidence in you. Like this guy's not going to make a bad decision. Like he's seen everything.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows. He knows. But like Northwestern here, like they have a really good shot at making the tournament. We're talking about Iowa, but like they have at Minnesota next on Tuesday, so they have a good amount of rest for that, and then home against Iowa after that. I mean, if they lose at Minnesota, it is what it is. Like, I don't think that affects them too much because Minnesota's kind of pulling away at this point. But that Iowa game, it really is impactful because Iowa plays Northwestern and they also play Washington. So, I mean,
Ruh-roh.
are they going to be able to beat Washington and at Northwestern? Possibly. But that Washington team played really, really hard against Rutgers. You never know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't pull up the schedules until just now, so I don't know if Northwestern. Oh man, it's gonna be tough. At Minnesota, like Minnesota's playing pretty good right now. Like they're getting some very good basketball play out of those guys, which is
Yeah, but
shocking because
you'd rather play them than like, you know, Nebraska, right?
yeah,
Like
oh yeah, for sure. I
I
would
mean,
much rather
Nebraska just
have that
lost by
game.
30, so I don't know. Maybe that's wrong, but
But when I'm looking at Northwestern, like at home against Iowa, and then even UCLA just lost to Minnesota, so it's like you could win those two games, maybe. I don't
yeah,
know. That was the worst loss, by the way. I know that was a couple of days ago, but UCLA cannot lose that game. And no, if that not taking anything away from Minnesota, they went and won that. But what a I was gonna say what a blown job, but they definitely blew that game for sure.
great wording there. Great wording.
Yeah, what
Philip
a
actually
blown
makes
job.
a really good point. Minnesota can only beat teams they shouldn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
UCLA, Michigan, who else did they beat? At USC, at Penn State. They have won, dude, they have won their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Their last 8 games, 4 of them that they've won have been on the road.
That's insane. The Road Warriors, man.
What does that say about Minnesota? That's kind of wild. Yeah, they won at Iowa. It started, and then they won at Penn State, at USC, at UCLA. Yeah, Minnesota and Michigan, the only two teams to go for a sweep on the LA stretch this season.
Pretty
Or the
impressive.
LA
By the way, Parker Fox's
run.
birthday is today. A lot of
Oh,
people won't like that because they'll just say he's getting even older, but like I don't see age. That's just ageism when you start bringing stuff like that in, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't see that. I just see a college basketball player that's having a good time.
Just passionate, playing the game he loves. How
Yeah.
can you hate on it?
Well, happy birthday, Parker.
Yeah, happy birthday.
He's probably
Parker.
watching.
Yeah, for sure. He and who do we also say watches as well? The coach.
Oh,
Oh, that was me and Sonny. That's right. Brad Underwood. He watches. Yeah, he watches Sonny's Locked On Illini show.
yeah, he
'Cause
definitely does.
we told him to do something, and then he did it the next day, and we were like, voila, there we go.
There it is.
We'll tell Brad Underwood what to do. Okay, so Ohio State, EA here says I can't figure out Ohio State.
Nobody
They beat they can beat and lose to anybody. I mean, I kind of said it at the beginning of the season, and I feel like I've been spot on from the jump. Ohio State, if they are hitting threes, they can beat anybody, i.e. Kentucky, i.e. Purdue, right? Like they can beat anybody if they're hitting threes. If they're not hitting threes like they were tonight, what they shoot from three tonight? 4 for 21. You can also lose to
Is that
anybody.
bad?
Yeah, real bad. You can also lose to anybody. I mean, you go down the stat column here, Kent, and it's like everything was awful. The only thing that Ohio State did better than Northwestern tonight was they had a higher 3-point percentage than Northwestern. They were 4 for 21, and Northwestern was 2 for 14. But turns out Northwestern did everything else 10 times better.
Gross, by the way. I didn't realize it was that bad from both
Yeah.
teams.
Well, I mean, when you don't have a down low presence, right? You got Austin Parks and Ivan Nagovin out there being your post players, like because Sean Stewart is just running into Matthew Nicholson. Like there was an early point in that game where Sean Stewart is trying to like guard Matthew Nicholson 5 feet at past the 3-point arc. It's like why are you guarding him out there? And he just runs into him, and it's like, oh, that's Sean Stewart's second foul. He has to leave the game, and it's like, dude. So
He doesn't want to get trade up, dude. He doesn't want him to hit a 3 on him from out there. Come
I
on,
guess
man.
So yeah, I guess so.
I wonder how many times Matthew Nicholson shot a 3 this year. Because he does shoot them every once in a while.
I mean, yeah. I don't
If
have
only
the
there
career-
was
I don't
somebody
have
keeping
the.
track of those stats.
Oh, I have CUB analytics up. I can look it up and see.
Game
That.
log.
Yeah.
This is what people want to see. They want to see us go through Matthew Nicholson's game log right now.
Yep.
That's what they want.
Yep. This is
Give the people what they
more than
want.
anything else. He has shot
None.
none.
I could have swore I saw him shoot a couple this year.
Fantastic analysis by you.
Okay, that's on me. Hand up. Bad Northwestern fan right here.
That's okay. We don't need to spend 5 minutes talking about Matthew Nicholson shooting threes. But yeah, so like for Ohio State, basically at this point, with what Ohio State was holding on to more than anything else were their numbers, their net rating, their KenPom, stuff like that. They've been top 30 all year, despite encountering a bunch of losses. I don't see how they stay top 30 after losing by 21 at home to Northwestern. Like I don't see how that happens because they do take margin of victory, margin of loss into account. And so if that's going to happen, Ohio State has to probably win out to make the NCAA tournament from here. This was a must-win game. This is a game you should have won, and this was a must-win game. And unfortunately for Ohio State, they came out completely flat, looked overwhelmed the entire game, and everything you heard post-game was like, give credit to Northwestern. That's a good team. And it's like, no, they're not. Like, sorry, I'm not trying to be that guy, but like Northwestern's not been a good team this year. They didn't score a single field goal in the final 4 minutes of the game. Like Illinois didn't score a single field goal for the last 8.5 minutes of the game, and everybody crucified Brad Underwood. Northwestern doesn't score a field goal in the last 4 minutes of the game, and they win by 20. Like that's not good. Anyway,
it was one of those games though, and this is why I think all of us love college athletics. Is that when you're just purely watching the game and you're not digging into the stats and you're not like who's good, who's bad. Northwestern wanted this game way more than Ohio State did, right?
Oh yeah.
You could see that was like jumping off the screen. So like just from a strictly like casual, I guess, standpoint, just watching this game as a outsider, you're like, that team looks like they are desperate. Like they're going to die if they don't win this game. And the other team looks like they could care less if they win or lose. Like they're trying, they're playing basketball still, but it was just one of those games for me. It was like they came in with something to prove and they proved it tonight. So that just happens sometimes. And it just notches another one on the belt of the I can't remember who just said it, but cannot figure this Ohio State team out because they can play with anyone and they can obviously, like we found out tonight, can lose to anybody. So crazy.
Do you think that Ohio State had two players out tonight. One of them was a walk-on. The other one was their backup center and Aaron Bradshaw. And they also had an assistant coach out tonight because they were all sick. Do you think it was possibly the team was just all sick? Like they asked Jake Dealer about it and he basically brushed it off and he was like, if you step on the court, you should play with intensity. It doesn't matter if you're sick or not. If you're good enough to play, you should play hard. So that kind of made it sound like to me there might have been some guys who were sick. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, based on what I just said, now that you're telling me that, I can see that being a scenario because it did look like a bunch of guys that were, like I just said, that, oh man, we're just not really trying as hard as we could be trying right now. So maybe they were sick. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what it was. Everyone just had a little bit of something going through the team. I don't know. But like I said, all the credit to Northwestern tonight, though, because they looked like they had to win this game, and they really did. If they want to go to Indianapolis, they had to have it. Almost feels like every game here at the end of the season, and they were able to get it done. So credit to them.
Yeah.
A lot of sickness this year, though, man. Is COVID back? What's going on?
I don't know. That's what somebody said in one of the articles that I was reading about all the sickness. They were like, this could be a COVID variant or whatever. And I was like, I mean, it could, but I feel like somebody would say something about it by now if it was. But I don't know. I mean, Illinois is going through the same thing. Brad Underwood talked about it. Like they skipped the handshake line.
So dumb, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. The dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life, by the way. I have to talk about this for 30 seconds. Play basketball against each other, swap and sweat for 40 minutes, running up and down, breathing on each other, talking right in each other's faces, and then the game's over and let's not shake hands. That'll keep us all safe from the sickness. What a stupid thing. I've never seen something stupider in my life.
I understood it for like the coaches because like, the assistant coaches, you don't want them all like getting it possibly and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, which Sonny said that maybe he wasn't contagious, but when Tomislav Ivicic was sick and he was still sitting on the bench, it was like, why is he on the bench then? Like, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get everybody else sick. But yeah, it seemed silly to me, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Brad after the game was like, "Wow, our guys really do stink. We don't want to do this to another team." Like,
yeah, I guess. I mean, I understand the sentiment, but it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Kat says almost everybody at my work got the flu. So yeah, I mean, people at my work have gotten it a bunch too. I can't deny it. So, what about people at your work? You and the dogs?
The dogs are good. Nobody's sick.
Okay,
Nobody's sick.
Good. Is dog flu? I think dogs can't get the flu, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Dogs are like invincible.
Yeah.
They can eat anything. They never get sick. They're always ready to go. Like I could go get my dog off the couch right now. He'd be ready to rock. Like, let's go, dude. We're going somewhere. Never tired. Sorry, go ahead. We'll do a dog podcast.
In the conversation
next week.
I was going to end the conversation. Final 4 games for Ohio State. How many of these do they win? At UCLA, at USC, Nebraska, at Indiana.
I don't care what teams you listed. I would have said 2 out of 4. Just because of the way the season's gone for them. It could be anybody that you just said. I would have been like, they'll win half of them. Just like in my mind, that's just what they do. They just like split. Doesn't really matter who they're playing. They might play great. If it's a good team, then they might win. They might do what they did tonight, play bad against a bad team and lose. So they'll win 2.
Ken Palm is predicting they will go 3-1 to end the season. But Ken Palm also predicted they would beat Michigan, and that was a bad prediction.
So. Yeah, did they predict? I assume Ken Palm thought they were going to win tonight as well.
I did not look that up beforehand, but I would say that is a safe guess. Yeah,
I think that's a really safe guess. I'm going to say it's a really safe guess, especially because the spread was so high. But anyways,
yeah. Philip's right. Illinois did have that player in the second half who couldn't play because he couldn't stop. Was it Trey White? I think it was Trey White.
I can't remember now.
I can't remember who it was, but yeah, they did have a player who was so sick he couldn't stop puking. Which that's just like that sucks, man. You try to go out there the entire first half and play Jake Davis, okay? Like man, that would suck.
That would suck. I've puked during a
Can't
basketball
believe that.
game before. It was not
Yeah,
fun.
but like I did that out of like exhaustion. I didn't do that because like my throat was killing me. Like,
oh, I did it because I was sick and I wasn't supposed. I didn't go to school
oh,
that
okay.
day, and then I played in the game and puked.
Wow, bad boy,
Yeah,
real rebel.
call me a V-sitch. I was just in there still. Didn't care. Got to get my
Um,
minutes, dude. Can't lose my
yeah,
minutes.
can't lose your minutes.